God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Somebody want to make a motion to excuse our,
I'll make a motion to excuse Commissioner Turner and Commissioner Simpson.
Support.
any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Move on to roll call, please.
Mayor Stefanic,
Here.
Commissioner Avery,
Here.
Commissioner Hendrick,
Here.
Commissioner Lovett,
Here.
Commissioner Melly,
Here.
Commissioner Simpson is absent, Commissioner Turner is absent, City Manager Brewer.
Here.
Thank you. I guess we'd like to move an agenda item up if we can right now. I probably should wait till we get to approve the agenda. We've gone to item 4, communications. We've got a certificate of recognition, or this is a certificate of achievement. We're going through the Michigan Municipal Treasurers Advanced Institute for Irene Antonevich. I'm glad. I know. You know what? This is the first time I even had to attempt it. I'm like, oh boy.
I'm just saying because of your last name.
I know. Hey, what's that mean? So congratulations to Irene. Then we've got a letter here from the Henry Francis Bayshore Post. It's basically just thanking, I believe, the Commission of the City, Marine City, for all their support. So we are also thankful for all the help they give us in putting on the Memorial Day event. I've got item 4C, which is a memo from the County of St. Clair in regards to the off-road vehicle ordinance. And then we've got item 4D, which is Helen Beauvais' resignation from the Planning Commission. And I would just like to thank Ms. Beauvais for all of her years of service. She's done it for more years than I know about. And then her husband for her was a commissioner for, I think, 15 years or 14 years. So it's a very dedicated family. They've done everything they can to support Marine City, and we thank you very much, Helen. On to item,
I make a motion.
Need a motion to.
oh, yes.
We make a motion that we accept communications and place on file.
Support.
Good motion, support. Any discussion?
Just a
Commissioner
quick
Hendrick.
thing, I'd also like to thank Helen. She's always done a really, really good job, and everything that Ray said applies here too. The other thing is quickly before on the ORV thing, I was talking to Commissioner Graytop after the meeting. They're going to have a public hearing in August, and hopefully they'll vote on this in August, which I know a lot of people that have ORVs or ATVs like I do. Everybody's kind of looking for this one to be approved in the county. Thanks.
Anyone else? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Thank you. On to item 5, which is public comment. Residents are welcome to address the City Commission. Please state your name, address, and keep your comments limited to 5 minutes. Seeing no one, we will move on to item 6, which is to approve the agenda.
I make a motion that we amend the agenda to move up
Item 10A.
number 10,
10A, yep.
10A, to be immediately, to be the next item. Does that make sense?
Support.
So we have motion to support. Any comment? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. So that moves us on to item 10A, which is the probationary, this is a agreement to hire our Department of Public Works Director on a probationary basis. You want to take this one?
Yeah, what you have before you is an agreement to put Mike Kittredge in as a probationary DPW supervisor, or superintendent rather, and that would be effective July 1st, 2014 through March 31st, 2015. Now, in that period of time, if either the city or the employee decides that this isn't working and we can't make it work, Mike would just go back to his former position without any loss of seniority or any other rights that he would have had in the bargaining unit. So I don't see that happening. I think we're going to make Mike a success at this. He and I talked about several things. We know the areas we're going to work on, and I want to get him through one budget cycle, and he's in agreement with me on that. So I am recommending that we approve this contract through March 15th of 2015.
Yeah, I would just like to add to that, because I did sit through all the interviews with all the other candidates, and even though Mr. Etrich might be short in a couple areas, basically working with budgets and management, he, far and away, I don't think we can find a better employee with a better knowledge of the city and its infrastructure and its people, and his dedication and love for the city came shining through on his interview also. So I endorse Mr. Etrich as well, and I recommend that we vote for this and approve it.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I'll make a motion that we approve the agreement for hiring Mike Itrich for the DPW director for the probationary period.
Support?
We have motion and support. Any discussion? Commissioner Hendrick?
I'd also like to say, I'm so glad that you're taking this on, Mike. You've been a real asset to this city for a long, long time. You know this city inside and out. You've always done a really good job, and I know you're gonna come through and do this for us with flying colors. I'm just glad you're taking it on. Thanks.
Anyone else? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carries, so moved, so thanks. Congratulations, Mr. Etrich. I know you'll do a great job for us. On to item 7A, we have to approve the minutes.
Make a motion to approve the City Commission regular meeting minutes of June 5th, 2014.
Support?
Motion and support, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. On to item 8A, which is the consent agenda. We have a special event permit for Drake Park Concert Series. Item B is a special event, Praise in the Park. Item C, business license for Broadway Mexican Grill. Item D is Resource Development Committee, TIFA update. Item E is departmental activity reports. Item F is Marine City Fire Authority run report.
I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda, place on file.
Support. Motion and support. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Now we've got to get on to item 9A as soon as I find it, which is adopt ordinance number 14-03, water and sewer rates.
I make a motion that we approve ordinance 14-03, water and sewer rates.
Second.
Okay, motion and support. Any discussion? All right, seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
So 3-2,
Motion carries.
motion carries. Thank you, board. On to item 9B, which is board appointments.
Can we do these all at once?
I probably should do them one at a time.
Okay.
Take on the planning commission first. There's 4 vacancies, and we have 3 applicants. We have Rebecca Lepley, Rudy Machaca, and Thomas McKenzie, all applying for positions on the commission.
Do you need motions to
We need a mo-
issue?
Yep.
I move that we accept the applications for Rebecca Lepley, Rudy Manchacha, and Thomas McKenzie for Planning Commission.
Support?
Motion and support. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Congratulations. And then we have the Tax Increment Finance Authority. We have 2 vacancies. We have two applicants, both are already on the board. We have Robert Lepley and Robert Weisenbaugh.
I move that we accept the applications for Robert Lepley and Robert Weisenbaugh.
Weisenbaugh? That's the way I always said it.
Weisen.
It is in German.
Yeah. So we have motion and support. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right. Congratulations to Bob and Bob. They're back on the Tifa board. We have the Marine City Fire Authority. We have two vacancies, and we have two applicants. We have Steve McConnell, who's been serving, and Mark Posey. He's also been on the thing for a while.
I make a motion to accept the applications of Steve McConnell and Mark Posey for the Marine City Area Fire Authority.
Support.
Motion and support. Any discussion? All in favor? Say aye. Aye. Opposed? It carries. Congratulations to Mr. McDonald, Mr. Posey, and thank you. Library Board has two vacancies, and we have one applicant in Janice Coy. And there was a letter that we got from someone recommending her, I believe it was Lois Kaufman, recommending that we accept this application.
Make a motion that we accept the application of Janice Coy for the Library Board.
Support.
Second.
Motion and support. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, Mrs. Coy. To item 9C, which is Maritime Days.
Yeah, this is just a preliminary approval for the Maritime Days special event. I don't have all of the detail yet, but since we don't have the first meeting in July, I wanted to at least get this approved, and I will request the detail right after I get back off vacation. It will come back to the second meeting just for a review and a sanity check, our second meeting in July, okay, which is, I believe, just prior to the event. I don't know that we have a meeting in between, another one in between this and,
It's July 17th is the next.
yeah, no, yeah, okay, then we may have one in between that, yeah, but I will bring it back for a final review at that meeting.
I mean, just to jog everyone's memory, I think the last time we had this in front of us, all we did was vote to save the date, or,
Yeah.
okay, to approve the
Right.
date.
Yeah.
And if
So this gives you some idea, but it's not complete yet.
so what are we actually?
We're just,
being asked
you
to
can approve the special event permit with the condition that I bring it back at our next board meeting for a final review.
I make a motion that we approve the special event permit application with caveat that City Manager Gaber will present that at a future meeting.
Support.
The motion support. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And we're on to item 11A, which would be disbursements and payroll.
I
including
make a motion
payroll.
that we approve disbursements, including payroll of $238,803.84.
Support.
The motion is support. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. On to item 11B, which is budget amendments.
Okay, I did hand out, and what this is just an explanation of all the budget amendments, just so I'm highlighting only the major ones, not every single adjustment that I'm making to them. For the general fund, if you look in the clerk's department, the portion of expense that is applied to the deficit is around $21,075. This consists of the city clerk, Diana Cade's retirement that was not anticipated during the budget process, and these are her leave hours payout. And then also her replacement, Chris Baxter, started back in September, so there was like duplicate wages from September to December. That's part of it, and then the other is just the FICA and Medicare expense, so it's all part of that whole wage information. And the next one is in the police department. the portion is about 11,900, and the only reason I'm saying that is because I'm asking you to change it to 64,000, but the reason is because there was those damaged vehicles that were in July, and there was $51,925, but that was all insurance reimbursement. So the only cost to the city was the $1,000 deductible. So there is no there's an offsetting revenue. The other item there is the computer equipment. That's the only item that does not have an offsetting revenue, and that was, I know, in July also, and it was in the office. They needed to replace the computer. The next item is grant fund equipment of $10,500. I had the police department check on that because we haven't received the grant funds yet, and we're not going to be getting them until next fiscal year. So you'll see the revenue in the following fiscal year. Okay, the next item is the general maintenance, or the DPW. The portion of expense that is applied to the deficit is $9,400. I'm just kind of showing that it went up $22,345, but really there's other expenses that is applied to it that would reduce the cost there. It's just that I'm increasing the wages, and that is because, again, we were not aware that Mr. Ames was going to retire when we did this budget process, and this is his leave hours payout. Because you have to remember, all these leave hours are unfunded liability, so it's when they occur that they get paid out. The next item is that also in the DPW was the portion of expense that's applied to the deficit is $16,500, and that was for the health care coverage. And one of the employees changed from a single coverage to a family coverage, and that was about $7,500. And then because the Teamsters contract had to be reopened, and they did not want to reopen the contract, that was the only one, that HSA and HRA funding was not budgeted. Their contract did not come up for renewal until July 1st of this year. Those have, beginning in July, they no longer will, the city will fund 75% of their health savings account and not 100% of the HRA. And then they also will start contributing to the premium. They're the only union that included active and retirees that was not changed, and it was just because their contract didn't come up.
It was the
for
timing
renewal
of the
until
contract,
July
that was all.
1st. The next department is your Parks and Beach. The first item was $26,500. That was for the light pole repair. The insurance reimbursement was from the 12-13 budget, but the actual expense didn't hit till this fiscal year. So we received the funds in one year and the expense in the other year. So it was just part of the fund balance. Then we also are getting that playground equipment of $29,500. Now of that $29,500, that's coming out of the designated funds park improvement, but the net effect is only $13,200 because in the current budget, we had the lighthouse improvements and a beach improvement of $1,300. The lighthouse was $15,000. And if you recall, that's going to be in the 14-15 budget year. And again, those funds will be coming from park improvement designated funds from that recreation millage funding. So the portion of the expense that's applied to the deficit is $39,700. Now, one thing I wanted to point out that I didn't do at the beginning is I went from the original budget. Part of these have already been approved at in November, some of these. But I wanted to show you where we went from the beginning of the budget to where we are today to explain why it's at the $214,925 for the amended fund balance that we are taking away from the fund balance. The other item there is insurance, and this was the under retiree health care, Ames and Cade, because they retired. They now have their health insurance paid out of the retiree health care, and again, that wasn't funded, as well as the retirees for the HSA and HRAs were not funded there. So that's the increase that explains that increase there. And then the $33,665 was for the liability insurance, which we had already approved this increase back in November when we did the budget amendment there. And then the final thing, which I'm sure everybody's been aware of because we discussed this at budget times, was the tree trim removal, that spring storm that hit us this year. That really, I mean, you can see we budgeted 20 and we spent 45,000. And hopefully the next couple of weeks we don't get another bad storm, you know. So the original budget deficit that we started, the approved budget that was approved last May was a deficit of $72,840. The changes are $171,585, and that increased the budget deficit to $244,425. But of that, we're having designated funds for the park improvements, so it brings it down to $214,925. Now, and I said it's amended fund balance, but what I meant was is that's what will go against the fund balance. Now, you have to understand is this is not realistically what's going to happen. When I'm doing these budget amendments, I'm not picking up all the ones that are not going to hit their budget. I'm only picking up the ones that we're worried about. Because as a department, you cannot exceed, because we approve a budget as at a departmental level, not an account number level. So I'm looking at all these departments, and any of them that I'm worried that we're going to exceed what we have as a total, I'm picking those up. So ultimately, there's other items in the budget that do not, that would be coming under the budget that I've not reflected.
Yeah, there are underruns, but we don't make those adjustments because it's non-value added at the time. I mean, typically, this is probably, we're going to go from about a 73,000 to maybe about a 150 with a rather 160 is how it's going to end up when we actually audit the books and we close them out for the year. Yeah. I mean, unless something else
I'm
happens.
looking, like, a lot of the things that I look at, and that's what I told John is I look lots of times at the cash balance, what we have in our cash, and it's been staying steady as to what our cash balance was a year ago. So ultimately, I don't think it's going to be as bad as it's projected here. And if you remember correctly from other years, is it always shows more. And actually, we always show a deficit, and then we're always on the surplus
plus
side.
so-
But I don't think we're gonna make up this entire amount here.
Well, we started 73.
Yeah.
You know, we might get close, we might get down to the 100 mark, but at when we close the books. So,
Okay, the next page is the major street fund is at the top. And again, like I said, I'm only picking up the major specific ones. The very first department was routine maintenance, and this is where the South Bell River project and the South Water Bridge project came out of. You can see that for professional fees for Bell River, I had to increase it 20,000, and the only reason is that because when we were doing the budget, we had actually budgeted all this in the prior year. It was not spent, so then it was carried over. So that's why there was more in the fund balance the prior year than what we expected. These were all part, it's not that they've increased their fees, it was just because of the budgeting process. You don't know when the project, if it's going to be completed or built. And a lot of these bills that we received were after the fiscal year.
Yeah.
So, then the same with the South Water Street Bridge project. And then the last item is the actual construction of South Bell River was $56,230. Then on the other side, if you look at the bridge actually completed quicker than what we anticipated. So I was able to reduce the bridge costs for the engineering services by $121,590, and then the actual construction fees of $45,000. So that kind of offsets some of the expenses that were listed up in the routine maintenance. And the last item was the roadside maintenance, and that was for the improvements on South Parker Street when they were putting all those water, that water main in. And then this actually comes from M29, and we have been reimbursed for that money from the state. So the original budget, if you look at here, the original budget deficit, adopted budget was $159,845. But because of these changes, the new budget deficit has actually dropped to $117,000, which goes against your fund balance, but we already knew that because of the bridge project. Okay, the next fund is your local street fund. Now, during the budget process, I had spoke of some special winter funds that we received from the state for road patching, and actually it went into major too, but it was so minor that it wasn't worth, again, changing anything. So that's why I didn't put it really into this explanation here. We received approximately $12,000 on local street side. The other portion went into major street. And then as far as the, so this is not actually revenue, this is the expense, and that was $12,000 that we spent, so that we are expecting to spend. for local streets for using that special winter funds. And then the South Water heading south from South Main, that was another 4,000, and that was that street paving that we did down there. So we started the original budget deficit at $59,910, and we've increased it another $18,625. So the new budget deficit is $78,535. But again, I don't anticipate this is really what it's going to come in at, just because there's other departments or other items that I'm not picking up here. The next page is TIFA number 1 fund. This was approved at the TIFA board meeting on June 17th. The change here was just in TIFA 1, and it was for the seawall repair project and the balance due on the South Water Street paving project that they contributed, and the change was $25,000. The original budget deficit was $4,430. I increased it by 25 with a new budget deficit of $29,430. And then the last fund is the water and sewer fund. Now on this one, I did it a little bit differently. I was doing all the other ones by account numbers. This one I did it by department because it just was a lot easier than trying to break it down by each individual account number. And this is general administrative department. I increased overall $9,320. Part of that is because the clerk's wages are split between the clerk and the clerk's department in the general fund and the water and sewer fund, split between water and sewer. The health care also, Diana Cade and Rick Ames' retiree health care was not in the budget. That gets split here as well. And then the liability insurance premium increase is also involved here. The next department was the sewer system maintenance, and I increased that by $7,100. There were sewer repairs on South Bell River during the construction that they didn't anticipate. When they were doing the construction on South Bell River, they saw some connections that weren't correct, and the city repaired them or fixed them at that time, since they were doing the paving. The next department is your wastewater treatment plant. And the natural gas actually hit all the departments, but some of them I had to do budget amendments for because it hit them higher than what I could handle for that department. So the explanation is natural gas was higher due to severe winter, retiree health care higher than expected, and then the treatment supply was higher than anticipated. The next item is your water department, general administrative. And one thing when I was going through and breaking this down, I realized in that department I actually did a budget amendment $10,000 more than what's necessary, but I didn't feel it was needed to go back and change it because again, you have to understand these are just budgets. It's not like they're going to actually spend that. I could have had this less than $10,000. It could have only been $12,350, but I don't know how I did it, but it happened. Same explanation as you will see, that was for the sewer. Chris Baxter's wages from September to December 2013, the retiree health care for Diana Cade and Rick Ames. And then I explained that I miscalculated the increase and it should have only been $4,650, so it was over by $10,000. And then the other item was liability insurance increase. Next department is your water system maintenance. Now, we've already, again, talked about this during budget talks, so everybody was aware that this was happening. And it was excessive water main breaks due to the severe winter with almost $50,000. And then the replacement of the water line on M29 was actually budgeted in capital outlay. This was more of a bookkeeping thing. I just took it out of capital outlay and charged it to water system maintenance. So that's why there's that increase of $79,380. Ultimately, it's only going to hit the fund balance by $49,380 because you'll see farther down I took it away. The next department is your water plant. Went up by $19,900. Natural gas was higher due to severe winter. General repairs, lab supply, contractual services higher than anticipated. And then the last item is your capital outlay. And I reduced capital outlay by $30,000 because I did the replacement of the water lines and moved it to the water system maintenance. And then the other was the Washington Street emergency new water main installation of $9,450. So that's why you have a decrease of $20,550. So the original budget was a surplus of $9,715. With the changes, it was 132,625 deficit, or take it, that we have exceed the revenues with a new budget deficit instead of a surplus of $122,910. And again, that was some of the stuff we had discussed during the budget, that we were concerned about this already. And that was one of the reasons that we had to increase the water and sewer rates higher than we would have wanted to, was because of the shortfalls that happened in this budget year.
And really, there's another 10 that you can take off of that because of
Yep,
a
so
math
it'll be
error,
112.
that's all. So it's really 112.
Yeah.
It's just a math error that we didn't go back and fix everything for it because it wasn't
Because
worth
it's
it.
a budget.
It's a budget, yeah. We just have to make sure that we're covered when we close the books out.
Because by the state, you are not allowed to exceed, because we're a departmental budget, that's how we approve our budget, you cannot exceed your department budget. Counts can go over and whatever, but the entire department
Can't go over.
So this, a lot of this is just trying to,
Now, normally, we try to do 3 of these a year. This year, we just kind of
well,
got,
last year we only did 2,
I thought we did 3. I thought we did 1 in January and,
well, maybe, I don't know.
yeah, I don't know. But we have to do this one or, because this is the last meeting before we close the book. So, you have it.
So are there any questions? I mean,
I know we covered a lot of ground quickly, but we do this every year, and like I said, Mary Ellen and I kind of watch that cash, and that really tells us where we are. And when we look at that, we're about where we were last year within,
Except for water and sewer.
except for water and sewer.
But we already knew that.
We knew that going in, just because of the type of winter we had and the amount of repairs we had out there. So, I need a motion to approve the recommended budget amendment.
Make a motion to approve the recommended budget amendments.
Oh, you're brave.
Yeah,
Do we have a second?
I don't know what else to do.
Do we have a second?
Exactly, support.
Any discussion? No, I don't see any. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Say nay. Motion carries. On to item 11C, which is fund transfer resolution.
These are the end of the year ones. I mean, earlier in the year, I do the other items. These ones I have to wait to the very end. And and they're just items that we do at the end of the year, and it's to transfer $1,955 from the water and sewer fund to the special assessment fund. And that's just to cover the estimated deficit. That special assessment fund is that water sewer project from 1980, the Farmer's Home project. That was that 40-year assessment. So that's the amount I'm requesting there. The other item is the interest earnings from the cemetery trust fund, the perpetual care. It's $50 that we're transferring to cemetery fund. And then the last item is transferring $15,000 from general fund to cemetery fund, just to cover the estimated deficit in the cemetery fund, because remember that the cemetery fund is also supplemented by the general fund, because obviously its expenses exceed its revenues. Can't have
That's a budgeted item.
that. Yes, all these were budgeted.
Yeah.
Make a motion to approve the fund transfer resolutions.
We have motion and support. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 11D, special assessment and outstanding invoices added to tax roll resolution.
These are any delinquent accounts that, all these people have been invoiced, and then they've also been notified that if they don't pay, that they would be added, it would be added to the tax bill for the summer 2014. The very first items are your property cleanup invoices, your grass cutting. So these would have been done last year, like in 2013. That's what all these are. And these are individuals that have been billed and have not paid their outstanding invoice, and they were notified in May that if they didn't pay, that they would go on the tax roll. The next item is your refuse pickup fees. Again, the same thing. This particular home that's on here was not a home at one time. It was a commercial building that then got turned into a into a home. So ultimately, I had to bill them for the 2014 year, for 13, 14, and that's what I did. Again, it wasn't paid, so now it's going to be added to the tax roll. The next are your water and sewer construction special assessments. This is that 40-year assessment. These people do not have to come in and pay. It can go on the tax roll. And this list at one time was like 30 people. People just either they've paid them off or the property's been sold and it's been paid off at that time. So it's dwindling down. I just had one of the taxpayers that had like 4 or 5 assessments just pay all of his off, which is nice because then it's less to keep track of on my end. And then the last item is your delinquent water sewer accounts. And if you notice, I don't know if you guys remembered, a couple of years ago, there was 30 to 50 outstanding delinquent accounts for the water and sewer, and look at how much they've dropped. They've changed some of the procedures on how they were collecting these delinquent water sewer accounts, which has helped extremely to reduce this list here.
I make a motion to approve the special assessment and outstanding invoices to be added to the tax roll.
Support.
Motion support. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. On to 11E, preliminary financial statements. Since you're the motion.
Well, I'll make a motion to approve the preliminary financial statements, but I don't have a figure here.
Oh, you don't need to.
Okay.
It's good, just do it.
Yeah, it's just, they're just statements. We have motion and support. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. On to city manager's report.
Very quickly, we had an excellent open house at the Snug Theater. Obviously, word's gotten around.
Can we interrupt and do a roll call vote on this?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's right, I'm sorry.
This is on the disbursements, item number 11A. Commissioner Avery,
Yes.
Commissioner Hendrick,
Yes.
Commissioner Lovett,
Yes.
Commissioner Melly,
Yes.
Mayor Skatarnik.
Yes.
Okay. Obviously, we had a successful open house and basically a very nice afternoon with some high rollers from the state level, the federal level, and the county level. Good conversation about how they want to support Marine City in the future, and I think it came off very well. Road repairs are almost complete with regards to the water main breaks that we've had. We had 34 areas that had to be repaired. I think we're down to 6 left to finish. I know they did 2 on Bridge Street today that were bigger ones. We're hoping to have that done by middle of next week. They'll all be complete. The banners are up on Parker. Now, somebody's going to say, why are they up so high? Well, that's a state highway. They have to be at least at 13.6. We placed the bottom of them at 14 feet. Otherwise, the trucks will take them down. So, but they do look nice. We also have some banners on the New South Bridge on all 4 poles out there. We could not hang flowers. They're too heavy for the type of attachments that we could actually buy for those poles. And we didn't want to ban them because it scratches the surface on them. But the banners look very nice on them as well. The PD is switching from a program called Core Talon over to Clemens in starting July 1. I believe we're going to be the first one in St. Clair County to switch. The whole county is going to this between now and the end of the year. So Don and Jim Heslop jumped on this one right away. They went to the training. They're starting to set the program up, so we're going to be a little ahead of the curve on that. And Core Talon is going to transfer the data so that it will go into the new system for the previous 5 years that we've been using Core Talon, so we're not going to lose anything. Keep in mind that the Clemens system is used by Wayne County, Oakland County, Washtenaw County, Macomb County, and now St. Clair County, which means all of those jurisdictions will have the same information available. So this is a very positive thing that's going to happen throughout the county and southeastern Michigan. I will be on vacation from June 24th through July 6th. I will be back in the office on the 7th. I'm not planning on leaving town. I can be reached on my cell phone for emergencies and that, but I'm confident the department heads can run it like a Swiss watch. And that's all I have.
Thank you. On to Commissioner privilege. I think we'll start with you today, Mr. Melly. Commissioner Melly.
Well, I want everybody to have a happy 4th of July when it's coming up, because we won't have a commission meeting. And just enjoy the summer.
Commissioner Levitt.
Sure. First of all, I want to thank City Manager Gaber for the great presentation tonight, for the awesome tour that you set up of the city facilities for the commissioners. That was really, I think, eye-opening, and certainly made me appreciate a lot more what our city has and what the workers do, and especially Mike Kittredge's role and understanding of all of that. So that's just a great move that Mike has accepted that position. So thank you for that leadership. Congratulations to Irene on her treasure certification. Thank you to the Historical Society and the women's groups, the Historical Society. They're having a music program. Don't miss that on June 26th at 7 p.m. Down at, I believe it's Drake Park. And then the Music Festival, we will be presenting the Music Fest at the Beach Party on July 12th. So again, I don't think we will see you before then, so do make sure that you come out and enjoy those things. The city looks wonderful. The work that's been done with the flowers from TIFA, the women's organization, and others who have contributed to those, the parks throughout the city, and so many businesses that have been including flowers in their displays out in front. It just is very, very attractive. I think that everyone is beginning to see that Marine City is sparkling. I've received many comments from people as they come into the community or they haven't been here for a while, that they're just amazed at the changes and the upbeat nature. And I hope that we can continue to do that. And last but not least, there are still 2 openings on different commissions, and do ask, beg you to, take a stand and come out and be part of what makes our city great. Thanks.
Commissioner Hendrick.
All right, a couple things. I want to thank you for, it was a nice presentation. The whole setup was done very nicely. I think everybody had a nice tour there, and certainly got a lot of response from that. So it really was nice to see. I also want to tell everybody, have a safe 4th of July, and please be careful with the fireworks. Everybody lives close together here. Don't fire them off at your neighbor's house, please. One thing too, we had a fire authority meeting last night. We had to go over insurance policies. We were able to, we switched insurance companies, but we did it at a savings of $2,500. So that's always a good thing to do, and we got better coverage. One thing I wanted to ask, there was an email that came through on a brush issue. Was that handled? There was some dumping going on between the condos. Whoever was cutting all the lawns and stuff was dumping stuff behind some houses on West Boulevard. Did you know about that?
She stopped in today, and we referred her over to talk to Brian, because she did stop in and see offices.
Yeah, I didn't
Maybe he
talk.
sent it directly to the building inspector.
It could have been, but I'll check with Brian
Yeah, I
tomorrow
just
when
want to
he's
make
in.
sure that gets addressed and we get that taken care of, because there's no reason for dumping anything when we've got pickup. So, just want to make sure some contractor isn't dumping that in by somebody's home. And other than that, that's it.
Commissioner Avery.
I'd like to read a little bit from the city code, just a few little brief things. Limitation on number of dogs or cats, except as provided in this chapter. It shall be unlawful to own, possess, shelter, harbor, keep, or have custody of more than 3 dogs or 3 cats, or any combination thereof, which are over 6 months old. Restraint of animals. All dogs and cats shall be kept under restraint and shall not be permitted to be at large. No owner shall permit a dog or cat to leave the owner's premises unless the animal is wearing a leash and is under positive control of a person of suitable age and discretion. And finally, unrestrained animals shall be confiscated by a law enforcement officer or the animal control officer and impounded in an animal shelter, and they are confined in humane manner. We're still having a lot of stray cats in the neighborhood, and they damage property. So I'm hoping that reading this, people will understand and follow the regulations. Thank you.
I just had a few things. I'm a little tired tonight, so I'm going to keep it short. I wasn't part of the last meeting. There was a discussion on the police department. And I did watch it, and I think we're in a position here where we're just kind of at loggerheads or we're deadlocked, because the basic problem, as I see it, is we have a couple commissioners that won't accept some basic premises that are being put forward, so there's really no way to move forward. One of the premises that's not being accepted is that Algonac, the city of Algonac is a reasonable representation of what the contract for the city of Marine City would be. Looking at their coverage and their city and everything else, I myself think that's a reasonable assumption, but we have members that do not think so, and they will not accept that. The other thing that's being put forward is that in regards to the chief, no one's going to take him seriously unless he gives up his car that the city makes available for him. He won't be taken seriously. He wants to make cuts. That's another intractable decision position as far as I'm concerned, because he's made hundreds of thousands of cuts along with the city manager of that department, and if that's not enough to convince anybody that he's serious about making cuts, then I don't think anything he does will convince them otherwise. And then we have the basic numbers being provided by the city manager. From watching that meeting, there's certain people that are taking the position that the books are being cooked, and that they just don't believe the numbers are being presented to them. So with those positions, there's no way to move forward. Even if we were to get a proposal from the St. Clair Sheriff's Department, if the numbers that we're using as a comparison aren't believed, then how can you possibly make a decision? So I think my opinion is there'd be no point in getting this a proposal from the Sheriff's Department, even though originally I thought there would be, but in light of these items I just mentioned, I don't see how we could ever move off of dead center. The only thing I could suggest would be possibly if the commission wanted to entertain a third-party review of the numbers as presented by the city manager. I don't know that that would change anybody's mind, but maybe a third party could validate them, and at that point we might have a little better understanding of if there's any savings there or not. So that's all I had to add on that one. I'd like to say congratulations to the Michigan State Senate and Phil Pavlov for passing a resolution to attempt to block the nuclear waste dump in Ontario. I think that's something that we need to do as much as we can to stop happening. I mean, that's just such an important resource to this entire area. The thought of Canada just dumping their nuclear waste there, to me, is just appalling. And I hope that the House and the governor will move forward and adopt the same resolutions. And then I'd like to thank the teachers and the students from Revere High School for their banners. They made me smile all the way here. It's quite a joy to see them up on the poles, and it's a very welcoming sight as you come into our city. And with that, I'd just say have a great 4th of July and stay safe. And I'll accept a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Support.
Motion to support. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion, meeting adjourned.